And welcome back to Sell More Academy, the mastermind for more sales. My name is McGary, and for the last 2 decades, I've spent nearly every day trying to figure out how to sell more stuff. I've been in the trenches selling my own products and services for years. I've built teams, companies, and systems that sell from Main Street, small town USA, all the way to Wall Street. And I've been fortunate enough to coach and consult for countless others worldwide, all in totaling over $150 million in sales. During that time, it has become painfully obvious that the marketplace is and always will be loud and noisy. Content creators and social media gurus are incentivized to promote clickbait content and short-sighted strategies that often cause more harm than good. With the rate that technology is moving, it seems like everyone has all the tools at their fingertips these days, but nobody really knows how to put it all together. Plus, what worked yesterday might not work today and will almost certainly be different again by tomorrow. And that's precisely why I started Sell More Academy, to build a community and set of resources to help you stay ahead of the curve, to help cut through the noise and make sense of your next best step. At Sell More Academy, we focus on what we consider to be the 5 pillars of modern business success: AI, branding, marketing, sales, and systems. We bring this to you through a powerful combination of a vibrant mastermind community where you can connect with and learn from fellow high achievers and experts in the field, live masterclasses just like this one, where we dive deep into the specific strategies and tactics for each pillar, covering 1 per day, a curated collection of resources, including free tools that we're building to help you sell more effectively, and access to our Sell More directory, connecting you with the pre-vetted providers and solutions that you'll need when it's time to either outsource or just find the right tool for the job. Our goal here is to provide you with everything that you need to not only stay informed and competitive, but to sell a lot more stuff. And that brings us to today's masterclass, where we're going to go over systems, but specifically, we're going to touch on multi-step prospecting systems. And we're not just talking about sending a few emails at a specific cadence and hoping for the best. Today, we're talking about building a reliable engine, something that generates opportunities predictably by reaching your prospects where they are. Most salespeople get stuck in this one and done cycle on a single platform, and that hurts not only the salesperson, but it hurts our business as well. And so what happens is they tend to find a lead, maybe they send an email, or maybe make a phone call, get no response, and then they'll move on. It's kind of frustrating all around, frustrating for everyone. It kind of feels like throwing darts in the dark, right? And what ends up happening is it leaves a massive amount of money on the table because, well, frankly, one touch just isn't enough. We've covered this a lot. So what we want to do is we want to build a multi-step prospecting system, something that's very different, something that is a choreographed sequence of touch points across different platforms that makes sense for our particular prospect. When we do this, we're able to meet them where they are, when they are. And those are really the key to success here when it comes to prospecting. So we're going to go through and just really kind of understand what a good multi-step prospecting system is. We're going to go through that fairly quickly, and then we're going to look at a worksheet that will actually help you to build one live. And I'm going to pull back the curtain on some of the secrets that we've used for years that I've personally helped people set up. And by the end of this session, you will end up with a complete framework to take forward. You can steal this, you can apply it to your business, you can apply it to other people's businesses if you want. It's very, very effective because like I said, most of the competition is only making one outreach. And if they're really good, maybe they're making two or three. But we know the statistics are on our side to have multi-step and to go a little longer in the process. So if this is something, if finding more prospects, if getting more leads, if making more money and selling more is something that interests you, then today's class is very tactical and will help you to get there faster. So let's dive right in and talk about what is a multi-step prospecting system. Well, first off, this is not just a theory. We're going to actually treat today like a workshop. We're going to go through a worksheet together and make sure that everyone understands how to fill it out so that you get the most from this class and you can go implement immediately. We're going to work through a prospecting cadence together. And while I won't necessarily fill it out live, we'll talk about each and every piece as if Sell More Academy was filling it out. So you have a good example to follow. And then you'll see exactly how to build a solid and repeatable system so that you have a very clear understanding of the machine that you want to build. Once we do this, things will change. You'll have different problems in your business and we'll have to chase down different bottlenecks. But first step is making sure that all of our prospecting efforts are not for waste and that we maximize our opportunities. And this is how we're going to do so with systems. So one of the first things that's kind of key to understand is that this idea, when I say most, is not just out of thin air. This is a verifiable piece of information. 44% of salespeople stop after one follow-up. So it's a one and done kind of cycle. And that's a lot of pressure for a salesperson. It's a lot of pressure for a prospect, and it's a lot of pressure for the business, putting it all on a one or a two call type attempt. And so that's not really in our best interest because we know it takes on the B2B side 6 to 8 touches to convert them. And so if I've only talked to them once, I'm really not even in the game, right? If I've only talked to them 4 times, I'm really not in the game. And so we need to make sure that when we build our systems that they're set up the way that our buyers buy. If it takes them 6 to 8, then our system should probably be 6 to 8 steps. And this is really just about pattern recognition. You need to understand what your audience is looking for and then match accordingly, right? And then we have to figure out where they are and deliver at the right time. And so this is what we're going through. This is why we need a better approach. And again, just remember that if you're in that 44%, that's fine. You won't be anymore after today, and all of your competition still will be. So this is your opportunity. It's not too late. Now is the perfect time to implement something like this. When the market is loud and noisy, we need to be more methodical. And that's exactly what we're working on. So what exactly is a multi-step prospecting system? It sounds very easy to understand, but it's much more than just a list of names to call. This is more like, as I said earlier, it's like a choreographed sequence, right? And it's across different touch points and different platforms. And the system tells you exactly when to reach out and what valuable information to provide with each interaction. So it's not about just bugging them or annoying them or being salesy. This is about being persistent, but always with value. And in previous masterclasses, we talked about a definition of value. So just a working definition for this masterclass is that value equals utility. And I learned that from Alan Sultanich. He's one of the most brilliant people I've ever met when it comes to marketing. And he laid that out. And so if you have a different definition for value, fine. Maybe that's not the best word to use here, but we're looking at it from a utility standpoint, meaning I'm not just reaching out to say, hey, I'm just following up. Hey, I'm circling back. Hey, I'm trying to close the loop or anything crazy like that. Instead, I'm going to actually deliver something that is useful to that prospect, that has utility to that prospect. And in doing so, that will make the thing valuable and my interaction valuable. So first and foremost, like most of our lessons, we have to kind of shift our mindset here before we can dive into the tactical aspect of it. And so again, we're not trying to be annoying. We're being very effective and strategic by meeting them where they are. And so why does it work? Well, this approach is big in for three reasons. The first is that you gain predictability. And obviously we've been talking about consistency throughout all of this, but predictability is just a little bit different. We're building a reliable engine that we can predict the outcomes, not just relying on random one-off attempts. And so predictability is possible because the system is consistent. Okay, so the consistency leads to us having predictability. Second thing is you're going to see a massive boost in efficiency. Your daily sales activities become 5, 10 times faster because you know exactly who to contact and what to say or what to send. And then third, and maybe most importantly here for what we do, you're going to see higher conversion rates. You're going to stay top of mind. You will consistently provide value until your prospects are truly ready to engage and move forward. And so this is not about forcing them onto our timeline. It's about being there so that when their timeline comes up, that we are top of mind. And so this really kind of leads us to the most important rule of all when it comes to building multi-step systems. And we've talked about it already, but this is our golden rule. And matter of fact, even if you do not build this system, if you're just going to go old school and follow up whenever you think about it, this is still your golden rule. Give them value with every touch. Never reach out just to check in. Never reach out just to close the loop. Never reach out just to follow up or ask about the weather or anything other than providing value for them. And it's not valuable to get on a call with you. I know you believe it is. I get that. That is not what we're talking about here. It is valuable for them to get something without you, meaning you send me a worksheet like we're going to go over here in a minute. That is, you get value from that without having to talk to me. Now, obviously, I'm going to explain it here, but you don't have to get on a call with me to get access to this thing. And so by me providing that to you, if you use it, it should be useful and then will provide value to your business. And so every interaction needs to offer something tangible, something that moves the needle for them, even if it's in the smallest possible way, and especially if it's not doing business with you. And I know that sounds crazy, but what we want to do is move them along their process. And then, like I said, when their timeline comes up, we are ready. We are the ones. And by that time, if we've delivered enough value along the way, then we're the only ones. We're not just top of mind. We're the only ones that they think of. And so that's what we're working toward, is making sure that we're in the right spot at the right time for the right people. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how to initiate these valuable touches. Well, before we even think about reaching out, we need a good reason to do so. And this is what we would call signal-based prospecting. It's usually about finding some kind of a trigger. We've talked about triggers in our automations before, so everybody should be up to date on what triggers are. If this is new terminology for you, go check some of our previous master classes and you'll be up to speed in no time. But for a trigger, all we're looking for is a reason to reach out. Not just, hey, I see you're a live human. Do you want what I want to sell? That's not a good reason, right? I think they're a candidate. That's not a good reason. They need to take some kind of action. There needs to be some kind of signal that indicates that they might be a good prospect for you. And so some of the triggers that you may experience would be like promotions. Maybe they just hired somebody, or somebody just got promoted within the business, right? So job changes, job title changes, those are big. Announcing a new round of funding. Well, if you sell something to them, guess what? They've got money now. So this is a good time. Company expansion or acquisition. Again, they're going through changes, which usually is going to leave some kind of a hole, right? If I'm buying a business, maybe I need somebody to help with that piece. Or maybe I bought the business and I realized that there are 5 or 6 holes in there that need to be filled right away. Maybe I need financing for that. Maybe, there's a million things. Maybe I need more marketing, better sales team, whatever the case may be. So there's a reason based on whatever it is you do. Now we have a reason to reach out. And then maybe they posted about this, whether it's on LinkedIn or another social channel. Maybe they just flat out said, hey, this is something I'm dealing with, and it's a reason to reach out. Hey, I saw you were talking about this. Looks like exactly what we do. Could we talk more about it? And so this works for cold prospecting. This also works for warm or hot prospecting. And those are just different signals that go off, right? So there may not be a whole lot of signals on the cold side. There's a few more on the warm, and there's a lot of signals on the hot side, or maybe a couple key signals on the hot side that allow you to differentiate those. And so it really doesn't matter what stage they're in. Starting with a trigger is the key to follow-up, always. One other thing that I will say that could be a trigger, now when we're talking about the trigger, it's kind of the initial piece. Another bit of value that can be delivered would be things from outside. So one of the things I like to deliver would be like industry regulations or compliance changes that are happening, updates from like the 3-letter branches that run everything. So hey, the FTC just made a new update that might impact the way you do marketing, and so I just want to make sure that you saw this, right? That's a valuable exchange as opposed to, hey, guess what? There are new rules. Let's talk about it. Here's my calendar. Not the same thing, right? Not the same level of value being delivered. And so we want to make sure that the trigger doesn't necessarily just have to be them. It could be something outside that sparks it. And I'm doing this with multiple campaigns now. But for time's sake, we won't jump into it. We can talk about it inside the mastermind. Okay, next. To build on the idea of having a good reason to reach out, we're not just reaching out, for no reason. We're going to map out an 8-touch sequence. Now, could you have more? Absolutely. Could you do less? Of course. But as we looked at for B2B, which is what a lot of people are serving here, the average is 6 to 8 touch points. So why wouldn't we just go with 8 from the beginning? Let's start at the minimum of 8. And then if we want to increase past there, that's perfectly fine. Now, you may be thinking, this is way too much follow-up. I wouldn't like this. My customers aren't going to like this. I don't want to do it. Well, that's because it wasn't valuable before. So we're going to break down each piece of this to make sure that we know what to send and when. That's going to be huge. So this is going to be kind of your industry standard, at least for B2B, and it's going to work in B2C as well, but this is going to be a bit of your industry standard that you can use regardless of what sector you're in or what niche that you've chosen. So we look at usually something along these lines: day 1, day 3, day 5, day 7, day 14, day 21, day 28, day 30. So now over the course of 1 month, they have 8 touches, and they're spread out, right? They're not hammering them all on the first day. I just signed up for a newsletter the other day and I got 6 messages on the first day. That's too much. I unsubscribed immediately because now I'm worried that they're going to do that every day. And so we're not trying to overload them. We're not trying to string them along. We're trying to be methodical about when we reach out. You saw something, you maybe need a day or two to think about it. Maybe you need another day or two, right? And that's kind of how we run that first week. So we have 4 touches in the first week, and then we start spreading out to a week apart. And that's a pretty big jump there, but it also kind of takes us off of that hot list, so to speak, where they're like, man, this person's messaging me every single day, to now it's once a week. It's more spread out. It's more casual and just, delivered as needed. Now, I want to be clear that the structure, day 1, day 3, day 5, day 7, you can change this for your industry. If your customer journey dictates that this be shorter or longer, do that. That's fine. Any stage in here can change to fit your business. This is just a guide, a template to get you started. Okay, so let's talk about touch 1. Our goal here is super simple. Goal is important. Every single stage, every single bit of communication that you have should have a goal. And that applies to business and just life in general. I want to learn this thing. I need to find out this answer. I need to make a plan. I need to make contact, whatever the case may be. Every bit of communication has a purpose attached to it. And so we need to think about that from the beginning, kind of start with the end in mind. And so the goal of touch 1 is not to sell them, is not to book a call. It's not to get them to take a coupon or grab a lead magnet. It's to start a conversation. we cannot sell anyone unless we can communicate with them. And so that's what we want to do. We don't want to pitch them. We want to focus entirely on their situation. We're not trying to talk about our product. We're not trying to talk about our amazing service or make some kind of grand slam offer. That's not the case. We're trying to start a conversation with somebody because even though they may fit all of our criteria, this could be completely the wrong time, right? Maybe you're trying to sell something that they don't have the budget for, or maybe they just went through something crazy. Maybe the person has a personal thing going on and they're not even working right now. And so there's a lot that goes on that it makes this, if you pause and think about it, by assuming and just jumping into your pitch, you don't do anything except for look stupid. That's it. Like you just look stupid if you're not willing to talk about them. If you start talking about your product and stuff and service too soon, you just shut them down almost 100% of the time. Of course, you're going to get lucky and, hey, fine, I get that. Every dog has his day. You throw out enough hooks, you're going to catch some fish. But we're not playing a numbers game here. We're playing a conversation and a conversion game. And this is how we get it started. So we understand the goal. The action is obviously going to be to reference the trigger. Hey, I saw you just were, potentially we looking at homes. I saw you just had your credit run. We work with Experian. And so they let us know, right? Credit leads or whatever the case may be. Those are good for like real estate, loan, lending, anything financial. On other sides, it could be I downloaded this thing or I started following somebody on social media. That could be an action or a trigger that kicks this thing off. And we just want to reference it. Hey, I saw you started following Grant Cardone on social media. I've been a big Grant Cardone fan for a long time. And I just had a quick question. What is it about Grant Cardone that interests you? Right? Like that. That right there is I've referenced it. I've explained why I'm reaching out. I've asked a very simple question, and it's all about them. It's not about me. It's about them. And that's the objective, right? We want somebody to think, hey, this person cares about what I'm doing, what I have to offer. They're here to help me, not they want something from me, right? That's not the goal here. And just to be clear, since we're talking about helping, your job in this first message is not to reach out and say, hey, how's business? That's as bad as saying like, hey, I'm just following up, just checking in, see if you're ready to give me your money. Hey, what are you working on lately? Like that's not it at all. We want to talk about something specific to their trigger and give a reason to reach out. Otherwise, it's very evident that this was just blanketed out to everyone. Okay, onward. Excuse me. So for touches 2 through 4, we want to start to give them some value, like we talked about before, value, but we want to do it across platforms. And our goal here, as you can see, is to show them that we understand their world. Not that we're trying to suck them into ours, but we understand theirs. We have put in the time, the effort, the energy, the empathy to understand what they're going through. And so all of these are about demonstrating value and showing that level of understanding. For touch 2, maybe you want to do like a short video. I love adding those in. I like using Loom and just, maybe I've got their website pulled up. It's my face on there so they can see that I'm real and not an AI avatar or something like that. I might even mess up when I talk, whatever the case, just so that they know it's me and I'm real and I'm really reaching out to them. And this isn't just another, mass outreach. For touch 2, it could also be, case studies, anything to kind of like build credibility without trying to immediately sell them, right? Again, you have a goal for each and every one, and usually it's just going to be to start a conversation. And so touch 3, I like to use LinkedIn for touch 3 when possible, or some kind of social media that I can capture them on. And so this is where you would just like connect and engage with their content and maybe follow them or whatever the case. It's just letting them know that, hey, I know where you are and I'm willing to come there to be there with you, right? So we have different levels of followings on different platforms, but LinkedIn is probably our strongest. And so if you come to see us on LinkedIn and engage with our content on LinkedIn, we're going to think that you're probably a little more into what we're doing than others who aren't engaging with our content, right? And so now I see your name more frequently. I see, hey, so-and-so liked your post, so-and-so shared your post, so-and-so commented on your post. I'm seeing that name pop up already, right? I'm seeing engagement with what I do, interest in what I do instead of interest in what you sell. And so day 2, day 3 are really important for kind of establishing that. When we get to touch 4, Yeah, again, we're in the kind of the standardized setup, we're looking at about a week out. And so we could just think about, what has your customer been going through for a week? If they first were introduced into something that they had no idea of, what's the process that they go through for a week? And then what do they need about a week out to help them make a decision, to help them move one step further in the process? Not all the way to the sale, not all the way to get on a call, just one step further so that hopefully we can start the conversation. And so I like to come in with like a different angle here, maybe a new approach or templates, ROI calculators, some kind of a quick insight. I like to send, I'll send memes, I'll send GIFs, I'll send short messages, I'll send long messages. I like to mix it up around day 7 so that it really doesn't feel robotic. And I still want to make sure that, we're not repeating ourselves from earlier. This needs to feel like something that's unique, personalized for them, not something that yet another robot spit out. We don't need that right now. So we want to look at how we can maintain this along the way, and then afterward, and set ourselves up for the second half, the afterward, to make sure that those are effective. And so that's kind of a little nuanced piece here that I just want to make clear. And it may not sink in for everyone, but over time it will. So just write it down. Every single message has an obligation to leave the door open for the next message. I'll say that again. Every single message has an obligation to leave the door open for the next message. And what I mean by that is we see people, particularly cold emailers, do this a lot, but we see people who create things like fake urgency, fake scarcity, do or die, confrontational, all of these things that are not really conducive to a good sales environment. They're the pressure type sales environments. And so what ends up happening, especially if we pitch our product and services too early, is that person just says no, shuts down. There's no reason to send them. The next email you send is probably going to get flagged as spam, right? And so I don't want to give you the opportunity to do that, to say no to me until I've had the opportunity to find out whether or not you're a fit and tell you about what I do. So in order to do that, maybe I'm going to spread that out over my 8 touch points. I need to make sure you get all the way to number 8. Otherwise, this has been a waste. It's been a waste of my time and money to find you, a waste of my time and money to nurture all along. Because if you just say no and won't accept another message from me, then I dropped the ball somewhere. I got ahead of myself and tried to skip steps. And so I try to make sure, and I encourage everyone here to do the same, that every single touch point that you have leaves that door open, because it is the obligation of that message to make sure that you can send another. You do not want to be spammed out or unsubscribed when people are still in the market. Now, to be clear, you want to have unsubscribes later. Once we're past this kind of initial phase, you want people to be able to unsubscribe, of course. You don't want to send messages to people who aren't interested. But during this phase, they're still learning a lot about you. And of course, you're going to give them the option to unsubscribe. I'm not saying that, but why would they want to if you're delivering value? Just think about that. What could I send that would keep people from unsubscribing? Well, it need to be something that really helps them so they look forward to my next message. Okay, so as we move on, the first are setting the stage for the rest. And so for touches 5 through 7, again, we space these out by a week, day 14, 21, 28. The strategy is giving them room to breathe, right? That's why it's spread out. It's persistence meeting professionalism. It's room to think. It's room to shop, which I know scares a lot of us. It's room to allow life to happen, right? Maybe they were on a vacation and missed those and they're just now getting back. Most people are gone for a week or 2 on vacation. Perfect. Well, spacing it out like this is going to be helpful. And so you're still offering value with every single touch. But the big difference here is that we are starting to add in maybe a little gentle nudge, right? Maybe it's a new resource. Hey, if you're looking for something like this, check this out. And one of the best things you could ever do is to give free information out, right? And so that could be stuff of yours or it could be somebody else's. I've shared articles I'll tell you, I do a lot of work in the manufacturing space. And one of my favorite things to do as of right now is actually to share political information because there's been so much talk about manufacturing. So reshoring jobs, bringing, investments in manufacturing, investments in infrastructure, those kind of things are important to our country. And so they're important to the manufacturers in our country. And so I'll send that out to them. I'll say, hey, I'm not sure if you saw this, but New York Times just wrote this article and it made me think of you. And I hope this is helpful. Talk soon. That kind of message is absolutely valuable to them as long as I've done a good job of targeting, right? If I send them something that is not relevant at all, they're probably again going to unsubscribe, and then there goes all my effort down the drain. And so when we hit touch 8, this touch 8 could be day 30, it could be 60, it could be day 90, whatever you want, but this is essentially kind of a professional breakup. Now, this isn't the professional breakup that you may have heard. Like, I'm never going to email you again. This is the last chance, blah, blah, blah. You probably received something like that. Maybe it didn't come across as harsh as I say it. That's fine. I get it. It's my voice. But what we're looking for in our message is actually to leave the door open, like we just talked about, right? That's the obligation. We don't want this to be the last message we ever send them. That's insane to think about. That means that you're constantly stuck looking for more and more people. Again, fishing and hoping with nothing on your hook, just hoping that you catch something. Not a great plan. And so what we want to do is we want to leave the door open so that, you know what, if we have a promotion in 2 months, this person should be able to get that promotion. Say, hey, I know it didn't work out before, but we're running this special, and I just wanted to make sure that you knew what we were up to over here, So we've left the door open for something like that later. But we've taken the professional route of saying, hey, it seems like maybe now's not the right time. My guess is this is probably not that high of a priority for this quarter. Should we revisit next quarter? Something like that is a very easy, breakup. And one of the best things that you can do with this professional breakup is remove the fault from them. You should do this all the time, but that's a different story. But in this particular one, you should always remove that fault. Hey, it looks like maybe we dropped the ball. Hey, it looks like now's not the right time, right? That's not their fault. It's time's fault, right? Who's gonna be mad at time? So that's what we want to do is we want to relieve that pressure, or, just understanding the circumstances. Hey, I know it's month end. Now's probably not the best time to communicate about this. So here's something I think that you'll find valuable. And I hope that we can talk soon in a month or two when things slow down. That is a professional breakup message that they will respond to later. Another example of a professional breakup that provides value, we did this at Show Me Merchants for years, and we ran our entire business on cold outreach. And this is 10 years ago, so things were a little bit different back then, but the psychology of it was still the same. And so our professional breakup message actually was our number one message that got responses. And it got responses immediately, and it got responses 2 years later. That was the longest that I ever saw. Maybe there were more after I left, but the longest I saw during my time there was 2 years response time. And our message was essentially this: hey, now's not the right time. We would like to work with you if it makes sense, when it makes sense. It's not a word for word thing, so you don't have to try to jot down every bit. Just understand kind of the premise here. I've attached the different programs that we offer, along with the requirements, the rates, the terms, and some FAQs that basically answer any question that you might have. All I'm asking you to do is not delete this email, archive it instead. And that way, when the time is right, down the road sometime, you know who to reach out to and exactly what we could offer you. That is the type of professional breakup that brings you business 2 years later. And sometimes it's just, they never show up on a bad day. The people who are really interested today, they'll answer you right away. Oh, no, I am interested. I've just been really busy. Great, let's talk, right? We can start the conversation. If they don't answer for a long time and they come back later, they're probably ready to buy at that point, right? Or probably ready to go forward with you at that point. So make sure that your professional breakup leaves the door open and really encourages them or incentivizes them to come back later or to respond later. Okay, so we've talked about the touches, but we also know that a system will only work if you actually use it. So you got to have either a CRM or a sales engagement platform, or even just a simple spreadsheet to keep track of this. You've got to log every activity because you can't keep this in your head, at least not if you're going to work at scale. And you definitely don't want post-it notes everywhere trying to remind you who to reach out to and when. And so you got to know what's going on day 3, what's going out on day 3, and what's going out on day 14, and so on. So that way, when somebody comes in, you already know what process they're going to go through. And when we do this and we focus on this cadence execution, so to speak, to make sure that everything is lining up, right? That our cadence matches our audience and is executing properly, well, then we can make sure that we're iterating and building a machine that continues to improve with us. So I recommend that you block out specific time. Maybe it's weekly, maybe it's daily. I recommend daily, but if at first all you can do is weekly or monthly, that's fine. Map out time every month that you reevaluate that system just to make sure that everything is moving right, delivering right, that it sounds right, that it reads right, because we're talking about multi-touch. So it could be video, it could be whatever. Don't just set it and then forget it forever. That's a recipe for disaster. The goal is to build a machine where we can load our prospects in at the top, and then down here at the bottom, we have leads coming out that are ready to talk. Not to buy, to talk. Why do we want them to talk to us? Because you're great at sales, right? Everybody here, everybody I've ever talked to is great at sales, or they hate sales altogether, but they got that part handled. Great. So you just need more people to talk to. That's really the solution. And then everything else would be better for you. So let's solve that problem, and then we can move down the road. So like I said, this is an iterative process. Once you build it, you're going to test it, you're going to refine it, you're going to repeat it. And that's just kind of the way this whole thing flows. So we're going to switch over. We're going to look at the worksheet. And this worksheet, if you're part of our mastermind, this is going to be inside of the class vaults. If you're watching this on YouTube or replay on social media, you got to join in order to get the workshop, to get the worksheet. But I'll show it on screen so everyone can kind of go through it together here. Let me just switch over real quick. Switching screens is always fun. All right, perfect. So again, this is based on our framework. You can change the framework to fit you, but we're using an 8-touch system here. Maybe you have 6, maybe you have 80. Fine. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to define our triggers, right? Maybe they just hired the new VP, just had a job change. Maybe they announced a new round of funding like we talked about, or they posted something or followed someone or did something on a social network, right? And we just need to figure out what is it that might spark it. And the best way to do this, truthfully, I maybe should have said this earlier, is always to start from the goal and work backward. And so to figure this out, we would say, who is our perfect prospect? And so many of us on this call are like, well, any business owner, anybody, it's some big group. No, that's not the case. Who is the perfect prospect that is ready to buy, that understands you, that has been following along, that has a need, that has the wherewithal to do it, all of the perfect things that I enjoy working with, that they enjoy working with us. It's not a fight. They like to refer us. They like to talk about us. That is your perfect prospect. Now, before they were your perfect prospect, they were your imperfect suspects. And so what were the phases that took them from an imperfect suspect to a perfect prospect? Because they didn't just wake up as a perfect prospect one day. There was a series of touch points that happened either with you or without you, maybe probably before you. And so our trigger point is usually our first indication that they have changed, that they are doing something different. And maybe now it's our time to enter into their world. And so just be very careful about how we back that up. And we're not saying, oh, they have all of our qualifications, and so that makes them a perfect prospect. There's more to it than that. A lot of people have your qualifications, but are not perfect prospects for you. And truthfully, this is easier to do as you iterate because for most people that are putting this in, they probably have a bit of a prospecting and lead pipeline problem. And so each one means a little bit more to you. And so you may not be able to be as choosy up front as you will be through further iterations because you have more clients and more revenue, more money, more freedom, more leeway, all those kind of things. So just kind of keep that in mind. Be as detailed as you can on these triggers now, and then understand that they may go further back later. So it may go from just hired a new VP of sales to maybe it's when they first became the president of the company, right? So maybe we can move back further in our process because of that. So just keep in mind, this is really about that iterative part. Okay, so part two then is we want to map this out, right? We always want to map things on paper or on a whiteboard or a canvas, something like that before we go build it. And this is going to help us to not only write things out, writing is important. Please write out your process before you send it to a bunch of people and expect them to read it. We're going to write it out and we're going to have a map so that if our system went down, we could switch to a different system, right? What if the company that you're using took a big investment and the new investors changed the direction of the company and it no longer served you the same way? Well, you would either have to start from scratch or you have this worksheet ready. So I encourage you, print this worksheet out, go through it with your team. And so day one, we want to pick this for every day. We want to pick the day, the channel, the goal, and then we want to have either your script or outline. Now, we're saying script very loosely here. That could be the template that you use. What I'm encouraging you to do is just have a game plan. That's it. Not just get on and ramble. Most people, particularly the people that you probably want to sell to, do not like that. They do not want their time wasted. And so the objective is to obviously reference the trigger and then ask a single question about them, not about you, not about a question about them that leads them to you. No leading questions. We're not doing that. We're asking about them genuinely, empathetically, and that is the objective here. On touch two and so on, we're doing the same thing. So touch two is where we really want to start demonstrating that value like we talked about. And so we want to know what channel are we using? Are we going to send them a DM on LinkedIn? Are we going to try to find them on Meta? Are we going to email them? Is this a text message? Do we have permission to text them? Is this a phone call, right? We can mix these things up as they fit your audience. What we're trying to do is make sure that we kind of bounce around to the different platforms that they're on, because then we're like them. We're part of what their ecosystem looks like. And so instead of just saying, hey, come be part of me, we're part of them. All right. And so as we move forward, one of the things I really like is that the value offer that's on there. And so we're saying, what specific piece of value are you providing? So this helps keep you in check to make sure that you're not just offering free consultations to people. You're not just offering lead magnets that really are just going to capture some more information from them when it's not helping them. And so it's not to say you can't use lead magnets. I don't want to lead to that, right? You could even give them a piece of software to use or whatever, go vibe code something. But the point is it needs to be for them and not for you. So as we are looking at touch three, again, social connection, this is really one where you want to jump platform. If you haven't done so already, go find them somewhere else. Just send a connection request, maybe follow them on the platform. They'll get a notification that you're following them. And I think a follow is probably the less intrusive way, but I mean, just connect. Just connect. If you want to talk to the person, connect with them. That's it. And just don't pitch them right away. That's the whole goal, right? You want to connect with the human, not their wallet. And so as we move to touch four, we tried three things. Maybe we try a different angle. And we're trying a different angle to see if maybe we were just off, right? Maybe it just didn't resonate to them. Maybe they had 1,000 emails in their inbox and ours just didn't stand out. And so whatever angle you're going to use, just understand that the objective is to stand out, to try something different and get their attention, right? It's hard to have a conversation if you can't get their attention first. And so phone calls, text messages, these work really well here if you haven't already used those because they're stepping into a little bit more of a personal space. But ultimately, we want to vary things, right? And so it doesn't mean that you have to follow these exactly, but it does mean that you want to vary this as it goes along. Touch 5 is usually gonna be a gentle nudge, right? Because we've spaced it out over a week now. So we have a little bit more reason to kind of reference what was already provided, provide something new, give a little gentle nudge. A gentle nudge is not, hey, do you want to talk about this sometime? It's not, you want to book some call on my calendar. A gentle nudge is just like, hey, is this still on your radar? Hey, is this something that's important to you for this month or this quarter? Hey, is this even something you would ever consider? If not, I don't want to waste your time or mine, right? Like, and so don't say yours, just say their time. So that's the objective here, is just to kind of nudge them along without just begging, because that's what a lot of sales follow-up is, like begging. Hey, just following up. Will you give me money yet? Hey, just checking in. You got that money ready for me yet? It's just begging all the time. And so that's not what we want to do here. We're sharing resources in touch 6. Something like you can do webinars. Webinars are great. Do a masterclass, something like this. That's phenomenal. They don't have to be live. You could pre-record them, invite them to something that's pre-recorded. You can share white papers. So these are going to be more of like the foundational papers, research papers, theory papers. You could share those. You could share industry reports. Like I mentioned earlier, I love sharing industry reports, news from the industry, things like that. And then as we get to touch 7, this is really kind of like, this is your, in this context, this is really kind of leading up to the breakup. And so we're kind of shifting gears into, we understand this is going to be a longer process now. And so that's kind of what we want to indicate of like, hey, seems like now's not the right time. Actually, if we're going to say it's not the right time in the next email, we don't want to say that twice in a row. So, but ultimately, what we want to do is we want to start to provide them with information that could get them closer to either making that decision now or later. Meaning, what would be one of the things I like to use in this touch would be FAQs. It's definitely one of my favorite. And those FAQs are usually going to be about the category instead of your particular business or service. And so, for instance, like let's say we're talking social media marketing, right? So some information about social media marketing, not about our packages and offers and anything like that. And then when we're talking about whatever that category is, my favorite way to go about this, it would be to write down 10 questions that everybody asks you about what your category is. And then I want you to come back and write 10 questions that nobody asks you, but everybody should. If you have those 20 questions written down, that is massive for this email, because it's like, hey, maybe there's some questions that are unanswered and they're not comfortable reaching out to me yet. And if those questions got answered, maybe I could spark the next conversation. So I love doing that one. And I highly encourage everybody to use a form of that or something similar to say, this is what everybody the questions everybody asks, and some that they don't, but definitely should. And that is really, really an intriguing thing that we can get into. And it's short content, right? It's just questions. And so questions and answers, I guess. So it's a very good one to kind of lead up to that professional breakup. Then the professional breakup, again, it's got to be tailored to you and how you do business and your voice and all of those things. But you want to make sure that you leave the door open so that if you have promotions or holiday events or anything like that later, you can still tag them back in without any friction. They're not surprised that they heard from you again because you told them this was the last time you're going to reach out. And so we want to make sure that we just kind of, we're thinking ahead. We're not always just trying to go from hand to mouth. We're thinking about the fact that in 6 months, we're going to need leads as bad as we need them today. And if a lead was nurtured for 6 months, they're probably going to be a pretty good customer at that time, right? And so sometimes we get easy deals. Sometimes our sales cycle is a little longer. And this helps the system, this multi-touch, multi-step, helps us to kind of serve all of that, right? If somebody wants to move forward after the very first thing, maybe they never get any of these follow-up messages. That's great. That's ideal. Wonderful. Yay. But maybe they move forward after the second message that you send them. That's awesome. Shut off the rest. They don't need to go out. And for others, maybe it takes the 7th or 8th or even 15th time that you reach out to them. And now you're prepared for that. So it's okay, right? That means you can spend more money on leads. You can spend more money on data. We'll have another session where we talk about data and how to get data and how to scrape data and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, now you know, once this is built, that you have a system that you can start throwing your prospects at. And a certain number of them are going to convert. Over time, as we mentioned, that becomes predictable. So you know, if I spend X on the top end of this, then I should get Y from the bottom end of this. Okay, so part 3 here is just implementation. So where will you track this cadence, and when will you execute your cadence daily? And so to execute the cadence means that you cannot just put these into a workflow and send everybody the same thing at the same time without some serious customization and personalization worked into your messages. Not everybody has the technical ability to do that. And so when we're saying the daily cadence, executing the daily cadence, that's really about making sure that I send out all my day 3s and I send out all my day 7s and I send out all my day 12s in one spot, right? I set aside time just for follow-up every day. Now we're talking systems. Systems can be automated, they can be autonomous. There's a lot going on in the world of technology today, but not everybody has that available. And so whether you're going to send them manually or they're going to go out automatically, just ensure that you're checking on these. Don't let something go blind and never be touched again. That's really a recipe for disaster. And maybe more so it's a recipe for a lesson in humility, because the moment that you think that you've got it set and never need to touch it, you will learn a lesson. I can almost guarantee that will happen. And so you want to make sure that you after you have this set up, that you give it time to run. And one of the best lessons I ever heard in sales was that you take your pitch and you read it in front of a mirror 50 times and record it, and by the 50th time it won't sound like you anymore. Or it won't sound like a script anymore, it'll sound like you. That's the goal, right? And ultimately, what that meant was that we needed to give it enough time to breathe to make sure that we knew what was right and what was wrong. Like, oh, I said this, that doesn't feel right. I said that feels wrong, right? And so we want to work through all those kinks and make it feel natural. And so the exact same thing is going to happen here. If you try to change on every single one, then you never get anywhere, right? I say it once, or I let one person run through this cadence and it didn't work, so let me go change it. Let me go adjust the days and all of this stuff. Or I had one person complain that said I emailed them too many times in the first week, so I'm going to go change it. That is going to be a very reactive system where you're always moving around and adjusting things instead of something that is set and predictable. And your goal is to let, whether it's 50 or 100, let a set number of people run through this so that you can look at this, you can zoom out and look at the stats across the whole thing. So yes, we had somebody complain and it was right away, but we took note of it. We didn't just ignore it. We took note of it. And then as we look out over 100, that was the only person that complained. So maybe it wasn't our system. Maybe it wasn't what we said. Maybe it wasn't what we delivered. Maybe it was just that person. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe it didn't match for them. Maybe they weren't the right fit. And so this allows us to make smarter decisions, market-wide decisions, to ensure that we're not just trying to cater to specific individuals, although we're making each message individualized. So take this worksheet, work through it, take your time. It's super simple, but the more detailed that you can be, the better your system will become, and the better that you will be able to iterate over time because you know exactly where you are. And ultimately, you don't want to have to get into your system just to change it every single time. You should be able to make these pieces, small changes on your paper, on your whiteboard, wherever you're keeping track of the blueprints of your system, not the actual system. So now that we've gone through this, like I said, this is going to be available. If you're just watching online, feel free to just write down some notes and go through this yourself. It's a very important exercise, and it's one that, truthfully, that people pay thousands of dollars, and if they're large companies, tens of thousands of dollars, to consultants to come in to just work through this. That's it, just to get this set up. So if you want to save yourself thousands of dollars and you have any interest whatsoever in selling more stuff, go through the worksheet, build your system, test your system, refine it, and repeat it. That's all you got to do. And when you do that, you will stop hoping for more sales. You will systemize your way to better follow up. So please take this framework, apply it to your business, and start selling more. That's it for today. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, or you just want to push back on what we talked about today, feel free to drop that in the comments below. Or if you're part of our mastermind already, you already know that we want to talk about this at length. So feel free to bring all of that information into the systems channel where you'll find a topic already talking about this. Hop into the conversation, ask questions, get help, push back, teach us, tell us where we're wrong. And we look forward to learning and growing together because I believe, we all believe over here, that this is a pathway to you having a more consistent and predictable business, regardless of what title you have. So again, that's it for today. I hope that everyone found some value in this. I hope that everyone has a wonderful weekend and a wonderful day. And I hope that this helps you sell a little bit more.